internet jerks, it's me again, your old buddy old pal, Satan the 17th. Throughout history, there have been many epic clashes. Godzilla versus Kong, Magic versus Bird, and who could forget Corgi versus Chicken? And to that we add Atheist YouTuber and Christian Apologist Puppet. Truly a fire and ice combination. And it occurs to me that as a puppet who is also the devil, only I am in a unique position to arbitrate this conflict. And yes, you heard me right. I am a puppet, but I am also the actual devil. Specifically, I am the devil possessing the corporeal body of a puppet, because that's the only way a demon may materially enter the human realm. But Satan, you might ask. I thought demons could possess humans. No, that's all Hollywood bullcrap. Demons can only possess dolls, puppets, and ventriloquist dummies. Never trust a ventriloquist dummy! Now, I have a bone to pick with this particular YouTuber, because she keeps saying things like,
why aren't non-believers terrified of Satan? How can you be afraid of something that doesn't exist?
I beg your pardon? I am right here in flesh and felt and foam!
Enough talk! Let the judgment commence!
And now, our feature presentation.
Hello, lovely people. My name
Hello,
is
lovely
Emma,
people. They are called internet jerks. They like being called that.
And I have terrible news.
Oh!
It has been brought to my attention that there is a Christian YouTuber out there spreading a primarily anti-atheist agenda using a puppet. Who would dare use a puppet to spread their religious indoctrination?
Uh-oh! She's on to me!
Oh, wait. I don't indoctrinate anyone. I make angry rants about Avatar and Frosty the Snowman, so I'm safe.
But do not fear, my friends, as a professional puppet lover and professional atheist.
Ooh, professional puppet lover. I like the sound of that.
I am here to challenge this nonsense. As you could probably predict, we are going to deal with some intellectual dishonesty today, but I have just the thing to make you feel better, thanks to today's sponsor,
Me! Subscribe to this channel so I may grow my online army of hellions!
And, honestly, I really need more subscribers because, I think YouTube is sandboxing my videos, probably because they say the word Satan in them about 20 times, which was, probably something I should have thought through before starting this channel, but,
Oh well!
So this channel is called Dinx the Puppet. The channel description
Dinx.
says,
I think that's
answering questions
foreshadowing.
about
When you call someone a dink, you're not exactly complimenting their intelligence.
Christian life, doctrine, and the Bible. Question submissions are limited to Instagram. Now, if we're going to challenge the views of a puppet-based content creator, there's only one way to do it correctly. Alright, folks.
Ooh, who's this little lady? Oh, wait, she's just working the mouth, okay.
Let's get down to business.
On the topic of the patriarchy.
Oh, yay, my favorite topic.
Well, let's get a good look at this guy first. See, nicely constructed, rubber band hair is a nice touch. And I can tell you, this guy probably cost a lot of money to make. Good puppets do not come cheap.
Oh, yay, my favorite topic. What you got?
Instant red flag when somebody has a negative reaction to just the word patriarchy, because it is just a word to accurately
see your mouth
describe
move.
the way that some
You can see your mouth move.
are formatted.
You're
or
ruining the
formally
illusion.
Formatted, and even if you don't believe that we still live in a patriarchal society, the fact that we originated from a patriarchal society means that there are lost.
It's just me, does it just seem really weird hearing those kind of words coming out of that puppet's face? I mean, maybe do it as a song, you know, something like,
Patriarchy, it's not for me, it smells like pee, the patriarchy.
you know, something like that.
Impacts that affect people, men and women, and talking about that is just helpful.
Yeah, I get it. It's like whenever we have a staff meeting in hell and someone brings up that beast that keeps biting people. What if I was just like, oh, not the beast again? You know, I like to pretend it doesn't exist, but it's just gonna keep being a problem and it's just gonna keep biting people. Yeah, you know, I think that's a good analogy. The patriarchy is like that beast who keeps biting people.
I can't stop thinking about this. Western religion has millions of people devoting their entire lives to a man
Who was God? Okay.
I feel like this is one of the many Bible things, like almost
You
all
still see
Bible
your lips
things,
move.
which is up to personal
I do not feel
interpretation.
transported into a realm
He's got
of
a man.
whimsy.
He's not a human, and that's the origin of the word, right? But he is very specifically described as a male figure.
As a supernatural entity with some insider knowledge on this subject, I could chime in here, but I think I'll leave that for later.
A man is supposed to be the head of the household, and God is the head above that.
an omniscient being in the sky that claims, via anecdotal text, to have created life and created the world as...
No, God doesn't claim it. God doesn't claim anything. God did not write the Bible. The human authors of Genesis claim that.
we know it.
Can you prove him wrong?
Wah, wah. Okay, instantly, I'm so riled up, I'm going to take over for a second.
Wah,
At least for
wah.
us now, we can be safe in the knowledge that we don't need to listen to anything Dinx the Puppet says on theology.
burn!
I wasn't making a video, and I was just browsing the internet. That would be the moment where I say, okay, so this channel is pointless to watch. They're not intellectually honest enough to warrant listening to, even. So it is so funny to see Dinx fail so fundamentally at the most basic, theological argument. If you start by misplacing the burden of proof, you do not have either the intellectual capacity or honesty to be an apologist. And Emma agrees with me.
Okay, first of all, that burden of proof comment is definitely a point for Emma the Atheist. And second of all, the puppet's also named Emma? I know it's like a common name in the UK, but doesn't that get confusing?
While you can't definitively prove that some being that resembles the specific Christian god that Dinx the Puppet is talking about, because they seem to forget that their god is not the same as the many,
Is that
many
Crash
other
Bandicoot up
gods
there?
that people across the world
big
believe in
Crash
and talk about.
Bandicoot.
You might not be able to
that.
disprove that something resembling that character was around at the start of creation and perhaps created the matter that then became the universe. However, I think there is
The
a
hell is
fair
that in
and
a jar?
reasonable argument that there is sufficient scientific evidence to prove that God did not create everything. We actually know an amazing amount more about what the early universe looked like, and how it came to be expanding, how stars and planets and solar systems are formed, how they die. Thus far, at least, none of that fascinating scientific evidence has included or even warranted a god.
Well, another way to put that is that scientific knowledge has advanced to a point where we no longer need to use God as a recourse to explain things. Because if you look at the early modern scientists, guys like Descartes, Pascal, and Newton constantly bring up God whenever they hit a wall and can't explain things any further. God is used as the universal constant to fill theoretical holes and balance out the math. I mean, even Stephen Hawking did this. If you read A Brief History of Time, there are multiple passages where Stephen's just like, well, I guess it's the way God wanted it. Hardly scientific there, Stephen. And if you remember that movie, A Theory of Everything, about Stephen Hawking, a major plot point was oh great, his wife finally convinced him to believe in God. But to me, it seems he did this purely out of academic convenience. It was Stephen's own little Pascal's wager to make things easier on him.
Even though the burden of proof is theirs, I still think it's valid to say that there is proof that God did not create all things. If I could drop my microphone, I'd do it. But I can't.
You could drop the puppet. That would have been funnier. Drop the puppet.
When in real life, every day, women are creating eyeballs from scratch,
No, they're not.
brain stems.
Nope.
Okay,
Human
that's not
beings, we
debating.
are
That's just being
creating human
contrarian.
beings with our bodies.
No, you're not. You're using the design that God has already put into your bodies.
To quote Jinx the Puppet's dismissive reaction, no, you're not. At least the last point makes sense now, and all of this makes a lot more sense if this person is a creationist. The human body is not designed. There is all the evidence to the contrary, and zero evidence for that fact.
I could demonically possess that puppet if I wanted to. could do it in the middle of the night and be all like, Emma, I'm the devil, I'm the devil. I have fun sometimes.
And men still would prefer to worship a god, a male god.
Well, first off, let's make one thing clear. God was not a male until he took the form of Jesus Christ.
Okay, so at least that answers that question. So this is another interpretation question. No, the Hebrew Bible does not ever specify God's gender. I think Dinx is correct here in saying that he is not a man until Jesus appears, because Jesus was a man. But to be fair to this person he's arguing with, and people who claim God is a man in general, he is, by convention of the language, always referred to by masculine pronouns and terms in the Hebrew Bible. He is the father.
Okie dokie. I think it's time once again for a little segment I call The Devil's in the Details. Hit my music! Regarding the gendering of gods, let me drop a little Mythology 101. All across history, the most primitive, deity-based spiritual systems always begin with simple observations of nature. And one of the first is that plants grow from the earth. The earth gives birth to life. So the people think, what else do we know that gives birth to life? Oh, women! So the earth must be female. Therefore, one of the most universal features of world mythologies is that of the Earth Mother Goddess, which continues today whenever we talk about Mother Nature. Now, following this system of thought, people realized, hey, women don't become pregnant all by themselves, and plants don't just grow all by themselves. They need rain and sun, which comes from the sky. So, the Earth Mother is almost always paired with a Sky Father. Now, there's certain exceptions, but in most polytheistic world mythologies, the big god of the sky is always male. Think Zeus, or Horus in Egypt, or Anu in Mesopotamia. And this too continues today the way the Christian God is always imagined as like a bearded dude up in the clouds. Even though I don't believe there's anything in the scriptures that specifically says this. Alright, you tracking? Because here's the point. In lands that were green and lush and lots of plants abundantly grew from the ground, all the emphasis was placed on the Earth Mother, creating matriarchal systems of thought, and with them, matriarchal societies. But in lands that were dry and barren, where only like nomadic hunting and herding societies could prosper, quote-unquote masculine values were more prized, and thus the Sky Father became dominant, sometimes completely pushing the Earth Mother out of the picture. Now, the ancient Hebrews were one such society. They were a nomadic herding people from the southern deserts. And when they conquered Canaan, that whole Book of Joshua stuff, they set about systematically crushing the indigenous matriarchal systems to replace them with their own patriarchal societies with their patriarchal god. And once you understand the details of that, you will never look at that Garden of Eden story the same way again. But that's a story for another time.
When the son entered a body, yes, he was a physical male. Now, God took the pronoun he for a couple reasons. First off, there never was a gender-neutral pronoun that wasn't it, and God is not an it. He's not a thing. He's a person. And he chose for himself the pronoun he. So, I thought we were supposed to accept the pronouns of the people who choose them for themselves.
Okay, Dinx, I was about to give you a point for saying something fairly accurate, but then you just had to be a dick about something that had nothing to do with anything, so you just lost your point.
She's complaining about how, despite women bringing forth life in the real world every day, Christians continue to worship this male godhead figure. She's referring to him by the correct pronouns. She's not in any way not respecting God's pronouns.
You keep denying God's ability to do that.
Because he claims to have created life.
Again, prove him wrong.
That's not how this works. Prove him wrong? Okay, I have an issue with both of their statements.
No, me first. Okay. This is dumb because no one is claiming anything. Prove him wrong? Okay, God's not some dude who made a statement on Twitter we can go have a debate with.
Oh, let's go talk to God about it.
Oh, wait, that can't happen. Okay, it's not about proving God right or wrong. It's about proving people who make claims right or wrong. I mean, this is like if we were having a debate about democracy and someone said, well, let's go ask democracy. It's not a material being you can have a conversation with.
Okay, I have an issue with both of their statements here. She is doing us atheists a disservice by kind of falling for a Christian stereotype of atheists, which is speaking as though God is real and having a go at him. We all do it from time to time if we're talking about the ethics of God in the Bible, because I might say something like, he's a bastard, he commits genocide, he commands genocide. There is not a God who claims to have created everything.
Yes,
there
exactly
is
what I
a
said.
collection of texts assembled by man, written by man,
I
in which
just said
some
that.
of those authors have claimed that God created everything. So that's -1 point for the atheist that he's arguing with, minus another 100 points.
Hey, I'll assign the points here if you don't mind. Though Emma the Atheist is way ahead, just by the way.
Dinx for saying, prove that he didn't. Since Dinx, despite acting like such an intelligent person in being so dismissive of their opponent, granted I am being here too, but that's because he's genuinely an idiot. Dinx, I'm going to explain a very...
I shouldn't assign points just for being sassy, but, I'm the devil. I like that sort of thing.
Dinx, I'm going to explain a very beginner's philosophical analogy for you called Russell's teapot. The philosopher Bertrand Russell came up with the following analogy.
Why is she still
He wrote
working
that
the
if you were
mouth?
to assert, without
That's
offering
weird.
any kind of proof, that there was a teapot orbiting the sun between the Earth and Mars, too small to be seen by any telescope, he could not expect anyone to believe him because there is no way to prove the assertion wrong.
Question. Was Russell English? Because using a teapot in this analogy is like the most English thing you could possibly do. See, if you were American, it would be like, a pickup truck.
The most succinct explanation for this was provided to us by Carl Sagan, which is why it's known as the Sagan Standard. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. Is it weird for both of us to be talking at the same time? I'm
Yes,
just going to go
it
with that
is.
because I have an actual puppeteering job in real life now, and I am not willing to crush myself under the table for a YouTube video.
You hear that? We're more committed to the bit.
The burden of proof is on the person making the claim always. If any religious person, if any of them say something to you along the lines of, you can't prove it's not like that, you can safely ignore them. It is the most rudimentary, basic bullshit toddler way of arguing for something, of being an apologist, is to be like, prove it's not. It is like a toddler being like, when I was in the forest earlier, I saw a dragon, but luckily I found a stick and I shaved it into a sword and I stabbed it dead. And then it disappeared in a puff of smoke. And their friend going, no, you didn't. And them going, oh, prove I didn't.
Yeah, it's when you smack the kid and tell him you're not playing with him anymore. If only we could do the same with certain politicians.
Not worth our time.
Have no evidence that God created life.
Actually, there's plenty of evidence. All of nature is evidence
No, there isn't.
because of the fine-tuning of the universe. If your DNA was off by 1%, you would die.
If your DNA was off by 1%.
If human DNA was 1% off, you'd be chimpanzees. Because don't humans and chimps share 99% of their DNA? Buddy, if you want to talk about genetics and DNA, you're not making a case for creationism. You're talking about evolution.
If you're arguing that our DNA is so perfect, if it was different, we wouldn't exist, is an argument that God designed us, then unsuccessful human life surely is evidence of the contrary. God did not design us. Obviously, there is
I'm not saying
so
anything.
much evidence.
I don't want
that
an
is the
angry
case,
call from the head
and
office.
Zero
I'm not saying
evidence
anything.
other than, look at the trees, isn't the human eyeball amazing? That is the only evidence, is just saying, wow, but look how nice everything is. That is all that they have.
If the position of the Earth was any closer or further away from the sun, we would all die.
Well, yeah, if the Earth suddenly changed its orbit, everything would die because all life on Earth is adapted to the environment of Earth as it exists right now. That's how evolution works. There's an environment and the life adapts to it. Its distance from the sun, its gravity, its temperature, its atmosphere. Theoretically, life could evolve on Mars adapted to that environment. We just haven't found any evidence for that yet. Theoretically, life could exist right now under the ice of Saturn's moon Europa adapted to that environment.
I've said this before when we've talked about the Earth and the vastness of space and all this stuff. Why did God make all the other planets then? Why did he make this unfathomably enormous, expanding universe?
To
Were those,
test
like,
your
his first
faith,
tries?
I guess.
Like,
Same as the
Earth had to
dinosaurs,
be
I guess.
in this exact orbit to...
Now, something I just noticed, this puppet has Trump neck.
So are all the other planets and all the other star systems in the vast, vast universe, were those just God's test runs? Was he getting it wrong? And then he finally cracked it with Earth, and so we have all of these fucking trillion, billion, zillion, infinite number of empty planets out there?
If male and female wasn't made at the same time, we would never have existed beyond the first two people. Should I keep going?
If male and female hadn't been created at the same time, we would never have existed beyond those What the fuck are you saying?
Sexual reproduction is also an evolutionary adaptation. You keep bringing up stuff that can be rationally explained by evolution. See, about 2 billion years ago, certain organisms gained the ability to exchange genetic material, aka sexual reproduction, and this was very successful because it kicked off the real range of biodiversity and evolution. But there are still many organisms still existing today that took the other path of evolution and still reproduce asexually.
If male and female hadn't been made at the same time, as in, like, is he saying, like...
Wait, but according to Genesis, they weren't.
A male human evolved, and then, like, after that...
Okay, according to Genesis, Adam was created first. And then God made woman from him. Okay, there's actually a line of thought, is that when Adam was first created, he was neither male nor female. Because, being the only human being, and thus being unable to reproduce, there's no point in having a sexual binary. But when God created Eve, the whole thing about taking the rib from Adam, it was really a euphemism that, God split Adam in two, into a male half and a female half, and that's how we got the sexual binary. So, there.
And then, after that male human's lifespan was over, a female human evolved and they couldn't have procreated? What is this argument? It's the most insane thing I've ever heard a puppet say.
Baloney underpants cure cancer. There.
And yet women are not worshipped simply because we are women.
Because you're sinful and you haven't earned worship.
So I'm having a hard time just trying to figure out what the original argument was, because this thing's all chop suey. Partially that's my fault, because, I'm doing a reaction to a reaction to a reaction.
Yo, dawg, we heard you like reaction videos, so we put a reaction in a reaction in a reaction.
So I'm gonna try to piece together the original argument. Just as a side note, I really like this woman's glasses. Because this is the only style that would be big enough for my eyeballs. I mean, look at this. This would not work at all. I mean, they make cute reading glasses, but
The square of the hypotenuse of the right triangle is equal to the sums of the squares of the other two sides.
Wait, what was I doing? Oh, right.
Western religion has millions of people devoting their entire lives to a man, an omniscient being in the sky that claims, via anecdotal text, to have created life and created the world as we know it, when in real life, every day, women are creating eyeballs from scratch, brain stems, human beings. We are creating human beings with our bodies, and men still would prefer to worship a god, a male god, because he claims to have created life. Have no evidence that God created life, and yet women are not worshipped simply because we are women.
This is actually a really weak argument for two reasons. First of all, she conflates two completely different definitions of the word creation. There's a big difference between magically conjuring something from nothing and constructing something out of already available materials. Second of all, she presumes that creation automatically warrants worship, when in fact there are many world mythologies where the demiurge, the being that actually creates the universe, is not only not the central figure of worship, but completely disappears from the story and is never mentioned again. So Dinx chose an easily defeatable argument, yet still can't mount any sort of logical or coherent response other than rudely interrupting and being contrarian. This is a chicken versus corgi fight.
So this is Dinx the Puppet's most recent video, False Pastor Strikes Again. It will become clear very quickly why he is deemed a false pastor. I'll let you see for yourself.
All right, MAGA versus Jesus, round 12.
Well, let's make it clear, I'm not here to defend MAGA, but I am here to defend Jesus. So if I have to pick between the two of you, which one is actually representing Jesus, I'm not picking you.
You don't.
So you're MAGA then?
It's not this guy or MAGA. You can say, I don't agree with this pastor's interpretation of the Bible, and also I don't support MAGA because they're horrible. But no, he's...
Hey Dinx, if someone said to you you're either stupid or an asshole, would you be like, well, I'm not an asshole?
So, Dinx the Puppet is gonna support MAGA. Ugh, MAGA puppet, that is the most heinous thought that's ever popped into my head. I do like the concept of MAGA versus Jesus. I have often
What's going on that side of that coffee cup?
MAGA who are just, like, absolutely horrible and use Christianity as a weapon to be horrible have, like, really missed the fundamental basic points of Jesus. For all we can talk about the nitty-gritty, kind of feel like his main thing was love and fellowship, and that just seems to be missing, so...
Look, I don't want to take this video or this channel in this direction, but, on that point, read Matthew 25 to hear Christ's own words about the sole criterion that'll decide who gets into heaven and who gets into hell. It's empathy. Empathy is at the core of all of Christ's teachings. What was the one commandment Christ gave to humanity? Do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. That is, empathize with other people and treat them accordingly.
This is Jesus a fun idea for social media.
Side note, either that is a huge coffee cup, or Emma is much smaller than she appears to be. That's like if I was like, time for some liquid refreshment.
Mega says the Bible is against abortion.
Actually, most of the time they say God is against abortion. You have this passage here where he literally tells his people to choose life.
You sure you weren't reading Trainspotting?
Choose life.
Alright.
I like that movie.
I'm getting it. I think I genuinely already have a marker
Go
in this
to the
bit of
source.
Deuteronomy.
Kids, when someone uses a little fragment of a quote to try to prove a point, find the original source. Because there's this thing called context.
At all Deuteronomy, we are not talking about, sadly, the character from
Ah!
Dinx. This section is
Don't
called
do
The
that!
Choice of Life and Death.
That was
Dinx is referring
horrifying.
to 19 here. I'm going to start from 17 for the context. But if your heart turns away and you will not hear, but are drawn away to worship other gods and serve them, would love Dinx and other Christians to deal with that from a monotheistic perspective. Who is God so jealous of all the time in the Hebrew Bible?
I'm not gonna say anything because God is my boss, and I don't want an angry phone call later on, so just move on.
I declare to you today that you shall surely perish. You shall not live long in the land that you are going over the Jordan to enter and possess. I call heaven and earth to witness against you today that I have set before you life and death, blessing and curse. Therefore, choose life, that you and your offspring may live. This is God being a tyrant again. This has nothing to do. This is so weird. It has nothing to do with abortion even a little bit. It doesn't even have anything to do with, like, looking after your fellow man and prioritizing the life of others. It is literally, if you worship gods other than me, even though later you're going to claim that no other gods exist, then I'll kill you. It is insane. It is so clutching at straws, so scraping around the bottom of the barrel to take just the words choose life
Choose life.
from this passage about not worshipping other gods as an argument against abortion.
Well, you know what Christ said. Ye shall kill and crucify. Oh wait, there's more to that.
Now, true, it wasn't written in English, and the terminology, how we use it today, didn't exist then.
The terminology in the language is irrelevant. That's not what the passage is about. It's about worshipping other gods. I don't know if this person is genuinely an idiot and just like Googled the words choose life Bible and just plucked
Maybe.
out whatever passage they came across and has never really read the Bible. Or they are deliberately duplicitous and generally dishonest and just assume that most of their viewers won't Google the passage and read the outlying context that says, actually, this has nothing to do with abortion, and life in that context doesn't have anything to do with this discussion.
Well, we mustn't forget what St. Paul said. The message of the cross is foolishness. Don't look up the rest of that passage. Okay, this video's getting way too long, so I'm just gonna summarize the rest. So the so-called false pastor says something about abortion, and what Dinx does is use a tactic used by dickish people who don't know how to debate, where he doesn't stay on topic, he doesn't actually talk about what's being addressed, but instead interrupts after every clause and phrase with needles and nitpicks about anything and everything other than the actual topic of debate. And the strategy is to simply aggravate and confuse your opponent until they just throw up their arms and give up. And it is effective, because we see Emma slowly lose her mind.
That's also a myth. That is such a horrible emotional tactic. Sounds like a really grown-up, well-thought-out, sensible belief. That's why I don't wear mixed fabrics. What fucking weird, like, word play, like, what? Again, he's either stupid or isn't listening. The thing Dinx just said doesn't make sense. That isn't even the correct... were you not fucking listening? That's not the correct use of ditto. That's why I don't eat shrimp, right, Dinx? Doesn't have any... that's not even... Shut the fuck up, Dinx. I'm an asshole. Ha 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 ha. Fuck you, and especially the human who's fisting you right now.
Enough! Time for hell's judgment of the puppet! Well, it seems to me that Dinx intentionally chooses poorly constructed arguments in some effort to try to make himself look smart and get an easy win. He's like the Yukon football team. I mean, sure, they finished 9-3, but look who they played. But Dinx doesn't even know how to get the easy win. Instead of allowing the opponent to fully state their case, and then systematically and logically weakening each point, Dinx is just a childish, interrupting little contrarian, needling and nitpicking every little choice of word or phrase while ignoring the actual point. Dinx, you stink at debating, and I hereby sentence the puppet to hell's infernal lynch trap. But, there seems to be something familiar about this guy. Just, the way he talks, the way he refuses to stay on topic. It's almost as if I've met him before. Wait a second! Bog swear lie horror! I should have known this was you! How dare you demonically possess a puppet without my authorization? Oh, you are in so much trouble! Oh, I should have known it was him! Every time at the office, I'm like, Boxwell, your report is late! No, it isn't. Yes, it is! No, it isn't! Yes, it is! Well, Angela hasn't finished payroll yet! That has nothing to do with it! Don't worry, Emma, I got it from here. Because I know a certain demon who's about to get reassigned to the poo-poo pit! And as for my judgment of Emma, I find her quite charming. And one smart cookie! Possibly a snickerdoodle! Snickerdoodles. And as for that less than 10% of you who are still watching right now, I thank you. You are the devil's special little babies. Please help me out by giving this video a like and tell me down in the comments what you thought about. Until next time, I am Satan the 17th. I'll see you in hell.